Gather round, children, and I will tell you the story of the internet biggest troll. Unfortunately, I cannot show you any footage due to copyright reasons and probably terms of service violation because yes, what was allowed back then on YouTube is definitely not allowed now. You see, we are talking about a free internet, an internet that was actually entertaining for better and for worse. Certain things were harmless, other things, such as Bumfights, was definitely not. Bumfights came out in a culture where you had Jackass and where you had Beavis and Butthead and other similar edgy shows. It involved a gentleman who would travel down the streets of America during the night and, well, offer money to homeless people to do various activities. All these activities were consensual, but also very painful, such as giving a homeless person $20 to remove his tooth with a painful instrument. Now, the controversy wasn't that it was violent, because there was a lot of violence on TV back then, as well as on the internet. The controversy wasn't that it wasn't consensual, because it was a transaction between two consenting adults. The controversy was that it was predatory. I mean, you go to a homeless person who's desperate and you pay him $20 in order to self-harm. Well, you kind of see why a lot of people were upset. But the reality is that a lot of people absolutely loved it, because this is what America wants. They want the grotesque, they want the disgusting, they crave the offensive. And I believe that even today, millions of people still do, except that today we have chaperones, we have anointed individuals by society that position themselves between those millions of people and the content that they crave. So in other words, Bumfights would never happen on modern social media. It would probably be banned even if it had its own website on the internet. The only way a show like that would exist today is if someone put it on USBs and sold it at the dangerous corners of the street along with crack. It's like, hey, do you want a USB? It's got an edgy show on it. Just don't show the Trust and Safety Council on social media because they would not appreciate it. But I digress. What is this controversy about? Well, there was the show, which I'm sure most of you are familiar, involving Dr. Phil. And Dr. Phil invited the creator of Bumfights, probably to make some money off of it, monetize the story, get some ratings, and be a little bit outraged, do a little bit like, how dare you, how is this possible? But to the surprise of Dr. Phil, the creator of Bumfights, when showing up, he was dressed exactly like Phil. And I believe that Phil knew what was going on. He lost the argument before it even began. You see, the whole point of the experiment was that while the creator of Bumfights was indeed an immoral person making money off of vulnerable people, so was Dr. Phil. After all, every single guest that appeared on Dr. Phil's show was a vulnerable person with severe issues, which Dr. Phil would show to the public and then put some commercials, and he would monetize it as well. Now, the reason this is interesting is that if you watch the whole thing, Dr. Phil immediately realizes what goes on. He watches a couple of clips from Bumfights and then goes like, oh, I don't want to talk to you. Get out of my studio. That is disgusting. Which, to any person who realizes how these shows are made, we know that Dr. Phil probably was aware of what Bumfights was even before he watched it live. And furthermore, why would he invite the guest just to kick him out? So this was one of the most interesting and iconic moments of old internet, and I do like how the creator of Bumfights managed to spin it around, turn it on Dr. Phil, and to this day he is probably one of the internet's biggest trolls.